Hi.
Hi, Quaylen. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. You got your speaker working today?
Yeah. I don't know what was wrong with it the other day, but I went back in and played with it, and I guess I was playing with it and then made it worse, and then I went back in again. So it's working finally.
Good. All right. We'll just give everyone, it's only 6 o'clock, so we'll just give everyone a few minutes to jump on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, Mike McKay, I heard that car got towed in front of on your street finally.
Yes, it did. And I was hoping to send an email to Mr. Abraham, and thank him for such quick action. But yeah, it was a big doing here. Nancy was out there and dancing around.
Well, if you're ever on the lookout, Josephine Street's starting to become a dump for cars back there and trailers.
What, right on Josephine?
Yeah, like right where UPM, right in front of the parking lot where Walnut Capital is putting up all the condominiums.
Oh, yeah. That stretch there because nobody tickets there.
Right, exactly. Do we have our presenters on the phone? Just checking real quick. Oh, Doug. Okay, I see you, Douglas. All right, great. Sorry, I cut someone off there. What were you going to say?
Have we heard anything more about Walnut Capital and what they're planning to do?
Yeah, they gave an update on the planning forum last night.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Barbara's going to send me the recording when she gets it because I wasn't
Okay.
able to be there. Did they show you any of what the apartments or whatever are going to look like?
No new renderings or anything. They just said they're continuing with the development where the hospital was. The old Roche Taylor Medical Building is
Right.
moving forward. They said that they're going to offer a tour through the space to the community at some point soon. And then the Josephine Street parcel, because of the conflicts with all the utilities underground, they are going to do a different style of stacked condominiums back there. So that's all the news we got. So
That's something.
yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started at 6:02. If you are not presenting, I would ask that you please go on mute before we start. And we are recording. So thanks everyone for joining. This is the development activities meeting for the Southside Community Council. It is not May 16th. Sorry, I didn't change that date. So welcome. We have an agenda for tonight. This meeting is hosted by both the Southside Community Council and the City of Pittsburgh and our neighborhood planner, Thomas Scharf. We have one project tonight. It's 1600 Bingham Street, who the applicant is going in front of ZBA for change in use for their business. So for those of you that don't know much about the Southside Community Council, we are the registered community organization recognized by the City of Pittsburgh in order to hold these development activities meetings. And these meetings really formalize the role of the community organizations in long-term planning processes with business owners, stakeholders, developers, and the community at large to engage in conversations related to the project scopes. So there you see on the screen sort of what triggers a dam meeting, and you can see use variance here on the list. So that's what we will be talking about tonight. I do not think Thomas is on the call tonight. There is a representative from city planning on, I believe.
Yes. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you again. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Nazia Tarannum. I am a principal planner and a neighborhood planner for the city of Pittsburgh, and Thomas is a great colleague, and I'm covering for him tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So great. Well,
First-
thanks, Nazia, for joining. And her role, as well as Thomas's when he's here to join, is they can support any questions that come up during the presentation. And they also take notes in order to submit their own report at the end of the presentation. So they collaborate a lot with our neighborhoods and others, and that's just a little bit more about what they do. So I'm going to go ahead and let everyone know how to participate in the virtual dam. If you're a presenter, we may have some people call in, so please clearly describe the slides you're presenting in order to assist those that are maybe on the phone. If after the presentation, we invite questions and comments. So if you could use the raise your hand feature in the chat, that would be great. If you are on your cell phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand, and I'll go ahead and call out the last 4 digits of your phone number. You can also use the chat feature in order to put some comments or questions in there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Doug or Douglas, how do you like to go by? If someone from your team can go ahead and share screen, that would be great, and we'll get started.
Yeah, why don't you just put the screen, but I'm not very good at showing do you have the presentation in hand?
I do. Just give me a second to pull it up. It's in my
And I was
drive.
Brian was on. Do you see Brian on there too? I'm trying to see if he was on. He was on a second ago. I don't know where he went. Brian Altminer. He's the civil engineer working with me on this project. But if you can just share the screen with everyone. Brian was making some final changes, and I didn't get a chance to look at his final change, but I'm familiar with what he's been putting together.
Sure. Let me open this document here.
Thank you.
And I am going to go over to that tab.
Yeah, flip through for me as here he is. I think he jumped back on again. I'd like to actually have him speak to the project.
Sorry about that. For some reason or other, my computer kicked me out of the meeting. So I'm back.
Okay.
If everybody can
Yeah,
hear
Brian,
me.
why don't you take off and I can pick up with any questions about the interior, the building itself. But Brian's
Sure.
been kind of lead on this he's very familiar with the city of Pittsburgh. I've done many projects in the city of Pittsburgh myself, but he's located in down in Pittsburgh. I'm located over here in Ohio, but I'm a Pittsburgh native. And but yeah, Brian, why don't you take over?
Sure. I appreciate the everybody's time and walking through this. As mentioned, this is a conversion of the McCardle's pub or tavern that was in business for a lot of years, probably more than any of us really know. I understand it was in the late 1930s when it had opened, and then recently closed last year. Ron Van Tassel has purchased the property. Thank you. It is tax map parcel 12E284 on Bingham Street and 16th. The property contains a little over 1,400 square feet of area. As the zoning map shows here, thank you for going through. The lighter tan or yellowish area is zoned residential. The pink, which is basically the Carson Street corridor, and I know you understand this, but I'm just quickly going through it, is the local neighborhood commercial zoning. The bluish is a riverfront. The magenta is neighborhood industrial, and then a little bit of brown on the right-hand side is urban industrial. What this slide was trying to show here is we did both visit the site on a couple of occasions, and we were trying to spot other local businesses of similar makeup within this sort of corridor and sort of highlight that for mostly more for moving on to the zoning board of adjustments and the use variance question, but also sort of to understand what's in this neighborhood. So that was the purpose of showing those stars from both Google Maps as well as walking the neighborhood. We obviously added a couple of slides for what the property looks like. It's obviously been there for a long time and had been operating as McCardle's pub for many years. And it had really predated the zoning code. And I presume that under that classification had operated as a non-conforming use because it is in a residential district, even though it was more of a retail and commercial use as a pub and a tavern. If we go to the next slide again, these are just street views, but shows you sort of the context of the property. The next couple of slides is what Doug has prepared for the floor plans for Ron's Juice Bar. And in general, if I'll just quickly say, and Doug can certainly speak to it too, is we want to keep as many of the sort of fixtures as possible and just sort of clean it up and meet current building codes and standards for getting the renovation permits for the property itself. Doug, you can quickly go through obviously what you're thinking here and what Ron's asking to do.
Yeah, let's focus on this building itself. The building currently is used as low as the original bar. Probably many of you visited it, hopefully have. And then upstairs is bedrooms. We're going to get that in the second page here, but let's focus on this page right now. This page here shows the existing bar and some photographs to the side. Ron originally approached me on this project. He basically wanted to do a fruit version of a alcohol bar. He wants to keep the existing building as is. He likes the historic nature of the building. He's gone in already and cleaned it up. The original owner has moved out completely, left a lot of the fixturing in, but you can see in the original circular bar in the center, or oval bar, if you want to call it, he wants to maintain everything, the existing Irish flavor of the space, but he's going to kind of add in his flavor, just basically the center, and serving his juice cocktails, all non-alcoholic, basically just fruit juice and ice or mixes, protein mixes, things like that. I don't know if you could have the menu in your presentation when we look at that. The back room on the left there, the former billiard room, he wants to just use that as a seating area. There's two entrances, one at the front on 16th and one on Bingham. And then he's got two existing bathrooms that are small, but were used. One was up front for the bar, and then one was in the rear was for the ladies in the back there. So basically just kind of maintaining the character of the use and just bringing a new food, if you want to call it that, to it. And down the lower right, if you want to focus on that lower right picture, you can kind of see the look of the bar. It's kind of Irish. That's the back bar, the billiard room. If you slide to the right a little bit, you can see the bar, which is basically just going to use it as such. Wants to maintain the existing fixtures. He wants a light touch to this building. And that's all he basically wants to do. He wants to open it up, see how things work, and then kind of modify his menu as the neighborhood may grow around him or grow with him. Upstairs, there were 3 bedrooms. You can go to the next page. There were 3 bedrooms up front, and then a rear kitchen. There was a commercial kitchen that actually existed above the bar, above the billiard room. You can see there's a small square there. They had a dumbwaiter. They serve the food, probably just bar food, down through via the dumbwaiter. And we're going to remove all that information. He's not done anything upstairs right now. I think it's pretty much a vacant apartment. We're going to turn it into all business use up there, which is going to be maintained as the same use as the building down below. We're not going to have an apartment up above and a bar down below. This upstairs apartment did have another entrance on the 16th. But Ron's kind of agreed to what Brian's been saying about this building. Should be one use, one zoning use, one building use, and remove the commercial kitchen in the back, and then basically just use that as a staff lounge. And then the other ones would be for his office, when he comes up in the area, and then probably his general manager's office and maybe just an extra office as needed. But that's kind of a generic layout that I visited when I saw the space down there a couple months back. And he's going to basically just leave it as is. So that's basically, so he's looking at the minimum amount of work in the building. Brian, maybe you want to pick up from there.
Sure. And we believe that this qualifies for a use variance and meets the zoning board critical or criteria for use variance, because obviously it was a prior bar retail commercial type use dating back into the late 1930s. It was also a licensed facility through the Allegheny County Health Department. The proposed use is less intensive than the former tavern and bar, just because of the use as a non-alcoholic beverage. The hours of operation and an anticipated number of guests are going to be the same or less than what was there as a pub and a tavern. We don't think that the use adversely impacts the adjacent properties. We did sort of look at the idea of converting it back into residential to meet the current codes, and it just doesn't lend itself to go backwards in time to current market conditions. And obviously raising and reconstructing it into a residential use is just not what we want to do here with the building, and it doesn't seem to make sense from a practical standpoint and a financial standpoint. I did put on here just for the community to go to Ron's website. I did add that on there. The next couple of pages are actually prints of that website and what his philosophy is for this facility. And I think it's credible to his background, and he does operate these in other cities. So it's been successful. And we certainly think and agree with Ron that this is a good use for this property, and we hope that we can get the support of the community groups.
Yeah, and if I may, there is a note about Philadelphia. He only has a few locations of this. This is a larger concept that he's rolling out. But Philadelphia, he's gone through a process of zoning, working with the community, and he's been very successful over there in Philadelphia. He opened up earlier in the year. And so that's why he looks at urban areas, blending in with the neighborhood. You can see the building itself he chose because he wanted to blend in with the neighborhood. And then in terms of zoning too, he does only want to have one sign on the building. He would like to hang the sign on the existing angle brace that's on the front corner of the building. He did ask about that. So it's something I'll deal with the zoning department later if we get approvals tonight with you folk. But other than that, he's just a nice businessman that I've kind of enjoyed working with up to this point. I'm looking forward to having a cup of coffee with him at this location.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead into some Q&A. So as we mentioned before, if you have a question or a comment, you can always put it in the chat or raise your hand. I'm going to go ahead and start with Quaylin. You have your hand raised.
I do. I just wondered, are you doing anything with the exterior of the building? I was looking at what you'd done in the, I guess it was Philadelphia that you showed at the end. And so I was just wondering if, you're freshening up or doing anything with it.
I think right now he wants to kind of maintain it as is. And we're going to try to, that's when I originally submitted the drawings for planning review, we did kind of go in with an existing alteration in a kind of a minimal state. So that's why he's cleaned up the interior. He wants to maintain the exterior as is. I think the only exterior change he wants to do was, as I mentioned, the sign on the front corner. If you can just barely see it in the questions, it's just below the Q there. There's a little angle brace that's on the building that originally had the McGuire's. And if you want to roll, scroll back up again. You can see right there. Yeah, on the corner there, you can see the corner of that brace there. He wants to put a small sign up there, just basically. So he's a low impact. He understands he's moving into a neighborhood, and he doesn't want to have a big brash presence. Probably the only thing he may do is just remove the gold leaf pub sign on the front and probably add some of his own signatures on the inside of the window. Other than that, I don't really foresee or really want to change. As me as the architect, I really don't want to change the existing building because I think it's kind of like nice and it's kind of like absence of place here, and it does kind of blend in with the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to,
Yeah, and
Sorry,
then
go
also
ahead.
he's also not planning any outside street parking either, or street at this time any street seating. So that's one thing, he wants to keep everything inside. Most of his clientele just come in, get their coffee or juice, and they leave. So just to kind of answer that question, that may be coming up later.
okay, let's go to Emma. Emma, hi, you have your hand raised.
Hello. Yes, let me lower my hand. Quick question. I'm just noticing on the website that I guess Ron's is a for-profit B Corp church, which I've never heard of before. Just wondering if there's any like religious services that will be held here, or if it's strictly a juice bar. Will this also be kind of like I don't know the zoning code off the top of my head if this use would be allowed. So just curious if that's part of this, or it's just for the Philadelphia one, or like what the situation is there.
Honestly, I wish Ron was on there to answer that question. That's actually brand new. Didn't see that in his website, and
Yeah.
we've not had any religious conversations about that. And
Gotcha.
I don't really feel he's going to turn it into a religious. It's more of, I think, his religion of juice, and he is very
Gotcha.
passionate.
Yeah. He's calling it a church in his in the website. So I'm curious as to kind of what what that
know.
means.
I don't know why he does that. I mean,
Yeah.
he is from Florida himself, and he is rather a brash, interesting person himself. So I've yet to meet him. I've only talked to him on the phone, and he came to town. I couldn't get down to town to meet him that one time we were going to meet on site, so I had to
Mhm.
miss out. So, but yeah, I don't feel that he's going to use this as a church. Brian, did you have any conversations with Ron about anything other than just selling juice and coffee?
No, I have not. No,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't expect that the size would lend itself to something like that. But I think the discussion on the website was interesting and sort of made me happy instead of some other, hey, I'm here to sell as many pieces of coffee and as much coffee as I can. It was a little refreshing, at least on my perspective of it. But
Great. All right, Mike Clark, you have your hand raised.
Yes. Hey guys. I just wanted to be clear with you guys and I guess everybody here that you're basically saying you're going to leave it all B or business so that you're not a mixed use. And that also doesn't require you to then sprinkler the building, right? I mean, that's the big cost here to renovate. So you're trying to leave the whole building as one use. So you're not forced into some type of new separation or sprinkling solution to that separation, correct?
Yeah, I agree. Just to go into the International Building Code or the UCC code, this type of building would be considered a 3B non-combustible exterior non-combustible building with a wood frame. So you're allowed to have 2 stories. Now this, albeit has an attic area in it, which is kind of probably small. I actually didn't poke myself up in there, but you can see that one photograph. There's a window up there. I don't think that's really occupiable space, but the building one use as a mercantile use or we're going to keep it as a business use because we're going to have less than 50 occupants in the building code. There's a section that allows for small coffee shops to maintain themselves as a business use. And with this 3B type of construction, we can maintain the 2-story use without sprinklers. So yeah, we do not want to install sprinklers in this. That would be cost prohibitive and probably not really needed.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear with you guys and everyone here that if he wants to later put a unit up there and just say, oh, I'm going to throw a bedroom and a kitchen back in and make it a rental, we're not going to let that happen. It's going to have to be upgraded and made,
No,
done
I think
correctly. As long as he understands that and you guys have communicated that that can't be done later without a substantial amount of investment in the property, some type of rated separation or sprinklering. That's all we want to know. So.
Oh, I agree. I would say that the zoning office and the building department probably will pigeon-toe him in his certificate of occupancy to be very specific about the use of the space, which I've worked with a couple certificate occupancies, and yeah, this building department, they like to be very careful about the way they write these in the end. That's kind of the legal document that we're going to end up with is the CO.
Okay. And then the
Would
attic,
be-
I was going to ask about the attic, and it sounds like it's not, but I mean, I think it was another living space for the McCardles, but not anymore. So as long as you're not doing anything with that. And then the basement was also storage. Is that going to be part of the coffee shop storage and part of the business space as well? It's not going to be another use or business or anything like that, right? It's
Unfortunately, I didn't visit that space. I couldn't figure out how to get down there. And maybe there was a panel on the floor or something. I would say if he is using it for very small amounts, because it's not easily accessible.
yeah, it's
The
in
upstairs
the
area is
door on
more
the side.
accessible.
Sidewalk
Yeah.
door. Yeah. It was for the
Yeah.
it's the coolers and everything for the bar. So
Yeah. So I didn't even get to get out there when I visited. I couldn't figure out how to get around there. So
okay.
it was
So my understanding when it was for sale that this building, the parking lot across the street and the house adjacent to it was all part of the sale and part of one parcel. Have you guys officially separated them then as parcels, or how
Right.
is this being divvied up as a property? Just for again the occupancy, are you trying to split into three? Are you trying to keep it as two, one? Explain that what you're looking at to do there.
Brian, if you could.
Based on our survey, they're separate properties today. They might have been, no, they were even sold separately. They're separate deed, separate transactions. So the intent, as you've indicated and we've indicated, is only to renovate this building. What Ron does with those properties at this point, he hasn't shared with us any plans, but this application is only for this specific property, and it's not somehow tied in with the parking area and the single family house across the street.
Right. Okay. And again, I guess, if he wants to come back later and if he wants to sell them off individually or develop one and then sell the empty lot and then come back and say, I want a variance for no parking, but he just sold his parking lot for to as an, we're not going to probably allow that, so just to let you know, parking
Yep.
is rare, and right now he has two buildings and he has a parking lot for both, which is probably what's required by code. He can't just sell the parking lot and then come back and beg for a variance for no parking. So think about that if he wants to have notions about selling it off and doing the venture capital crap,
Yep.
more in pieces than in the whole. So anyways,
Right.
that's all I have. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thanks, Mike. Mike McKay, you did have your hand up. I don't see it. Or do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, Mike Clark beat me to the punch. I was going to ask about the property across the street and the adjoining house, but once again, Mike beat me to it.
Got to get up quicker if you want to beat me, Mike.
I'll keep it.
Did you have a little
Okay.
coffee this morning or this afternoon, Mike?
I've had a few.
Okay. Good.
All right. Does anybody have any other comments or questions that they'd like to ask the presenters and the applicants this evening? Nothing regarding trash or trash removal or trash storage?
Since you mentioned it,
Mhm.
it is a concern of ours. We don't want to see the trash being left outside in the alley. The alley is not an area. It's not yours technically. It's city property. So you need to find a place inside the building to store the trash of the business before trash day. Well, actually, you probably can't contribute to trash day because you're a commercial property. So you're going to have commercial pickup. So if you don't have it every day, then you're going to need to make a trash room in the back and a recycling room because you can't use that alley to store your trash cans. It's not your property unless you want to use land across the street or something. So I guess Ron should know that. Yeah.
Yep. I understand.
So we have a question in the chat. Does he need a dumpster? He doesn't need a dumpster, but he needs a commercial pickup contract and schedule, correct? Everyone that's nodding their heads.
That's my understanding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a large hopper on wheels, commercial companies come and pick those up just depending on how much waste you produce.
Right.
Yeah, that was sort of what I was talking about.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to compost because it's he'll have a lot of organic waste. So
Yeah,
you never know.
I wish he was on, but as far as I understand, a lot of his drinks are mixes. So it's
Right.
the containers that come in, and then there's also the fresh fruit, which he grinds up. So really, he'll just have the peels and the pulp left over. So I think he's going to have to maintain that in a sanitary receptacle. And I can see the back. You can see the existing rear access. There's some room back there for some flip top trash cans. It does not produce anything with grease. And I think he's going to probably use minimal amounts of plates. I do know he uses a lot of disposable. So I'll have to talk about how I didn't have a conversation about his disposable cups, but a lot of his clients probably have walk away cups and everything like that. I'm not thinking he's going to be using ceramics. So he never talked to me about a dishwashing facility here. So I'm assuming he will be using just probably and I'll encourage him to use biodegradable type of material, which I'm assuming he does already.
And
Okay.
probably enough, if he is going to be using trash cans, enough of them so that they don't overflow if that's if he's going to have a lot of trash, because that's one of the problems that we do have, where sometimes they'll just overflow and before they get to pick up the trash. So
Mike McKay, you have your hand raised.
I do. Something that we were just discussing here at home that we remember back in the days at McGardles was he used to put a small dumpster in the lot across the street there, and that's where he would take care of his garbage. Just that dumpster over there. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and if he would get a dumpster, we'd encourage some type of enclosure, just because if you do not, in the urban setting, you tend to get maybe mattresses and lazy boys thrown in there. So some sort of secure enclosure is always a good idea if he does
It
go
might be
that
required.
route.
I
Yeah.
think you might have to. Just knowing I've had to do that a bunch. Just FYI, I would look into the code into that.
Yeah, I think when we
Yeah.
step into the zoning process, we passed your meeting tonight. When we get to the zoning process, they will be addressing that. And I think that the one person from the zoning department here, she could probably address that herself. What she anticipates our next step will be once we get this project hopefully approved by your group tonight.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions on the presentation tonight? No? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip screens here. So next steps was mentioned. So next steps are for the ZBA and for the development activities meeting process is the community at large has 30 days to provide any comments or questions after this meeting. Those can be sent to us via email at info@southsidecommunitycouncil.org. Following that 30-day period, the Southside Community Council will submit a letter in favor of or not in favor of this request, and that gets submitted directly to our neighborhood planner, and we typically copy the applicants with that as well. Following it, will present in front of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. They meet virtually on the first 3 Thursdays of each month. You could also provide public comment at the ZBA meetings. If you go to the city's website and search for Zoning Board of Adjustment, you can see their full schedule for this first quarter and how to join a meeting virtually. So if we have nothing else for tonight, thank you all for coming and presenting. Like I said, we have the 30-day review period, so you'll be hearing from us after that. We will also post this video, this recording on our YouTube page for folks to reference if they've missed tonight's meeting and want to send any comments. So thanks everyone for joining. Stay warm, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Thank you.
Good
All right
night.
now, thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.